Hi there guys, welcome back. This is a follow-up video on the raking tutorial I did a while ago. And I know a lot of you guys don't approve of raking, but personally I don't see anything wrong with it. And today I'm going to hopefully give you a few pointers to help increase your success rate, because a lot of people give up raking because they just don't do it right, and a huge part of that is because they're not getting the tension right. And so I have a range of Euros here, weathered ones, non-weathered ones. I think there's even one with spools in it. I also have padlocks back here, a very heavy Abus lock down to a tiny little master lock. And I'm going to be using the padlocks as weights. And so I think you can kind of guess what I'm up to here. Here we have an era lock. We've got a lot of slop in it. I don't believe this lock has ever been outside, and that's a good indication that we actually don't need to use heavy tension. And in this case I'm actually going to start off with this massive big Abus lock and put a huge amount of tension on this guy. I'm going to use my Southward City rake. It's my favourite rake. And I'm going to try to rake this guy. And lo and behold, the lock doesn't open. However, if we go down to a light Abus padlock, right away our lock has opened. So why is that? Well, really, with lock raking, we actually want our pins to be bouncing around. The whole idea is that we put a rake in here, we're scrubbing those pins, and we want them to be bouncing around so they have an increased chance of reaching the shear line. But if we put a huge amount of tension on one of these locks, then when we try to rake it, it probably won't work, because all the pins will be binding instead of bouncing around. It does depend whether it's a padlock or a Euro cylinder. Sometimes padlocks can have spring tension on the core, and so you have to overcome the spring tension. But in a lot of cases, really all the tension wrench is there for is to just kind of push the core in the clockwise direction. It doesn't really do a huge amount. And so this lock here is quite a weathered lock, so less slop in the core, but we should still be able to use quite light tension. And when we're raking, we're not holding our pick like this, like a dagger or anything. We're just kind of, I'm holding it loosely in my hand. I want it to just bounce around. If we can get some focus. Stop focusing on those padlocks in the background. Just want it to bounce around, and it finds its own way over the pins. And also another thing is that you sometimes have to turn the pick and angle it if you have warding in your lock. So in this case I'm going to have to turn it this direction a little bit because of the warding. And you see that almost immediately our lock opens up. And I believe that guy even has spool pins in it. Here we have an even more weathered lock. And we're probably going to need a slightly heavier weight, but still we're keeping it reasonable, not over-tensioning. And older locks can be a little bit fussier, but there we go. We managed to get it open quite quickly. Guys, it really is all about the tension, and people don't realise how important it is to get your tension right. Here's another lock that has a very wobbly core, which means that we're probably not going to need a huge amount of tension. We're going to even try the tiny little master lock here. So again, holding our pick quite loose, we're just letting it bounce over the pins. Okay, perhaps the master lock is a tiny bit too light. We're gonna up to the ABIS, and right away we're open. So I'm not suggesting that you use padlocks as weights. You should try it though, it's quite a cool experiment. But I'm just saying, when I tension a lock, I really only use tiny little tension. I'm only barely touching the tension wrench. I'm only pushing it in that direction and stopping it from flopping up. And I use really light tension. And now I'm unable to pick locks using hand tension. But there we go. So it's really important that you don't over-tension locks. You want those pins to be binding around, or bouncing around rather, and not binding. It's really, really important when you're raking a lock. So, some locks cannot be raked. That's true enough. An example of that may be a very old lock with very gunked up pins that can't bounce around. And another example would be maybe a lock with security pins. But tensioning is key when it comes to raking locks, and I really highly recommend that you practice tensioning. A lot of people don't pay a lot of attention to tensioning, but it is really important. And yeah, a lot of the time you'll see me when I pick a lock, I'll actually be pulsing my finger up and down, and what I'm doing there is I'm actually varying the tension to help me find the best tension for that lock. And so yeah, just experiment, guys. I try the padlock experiment. It's quite fun, and yeah, you'll be amazed at how little tension you actually need to pick the majority of, or rake the majority of locks. Well, thanks for watching this video. I hope it's helpful, and of course if you have any other questions, then please do leave them below or send me an email. That email address is always in the description. But apart from that, thank you very much for watching this video, and happy raking!